the last, I would definitely say like more than 5 years. So I did mention that I have been teaching English, and this is something I've been using in my Tamil classrooms as well, and now in GP classrooms. Since the category allowed for high school, I've clicked on high school, but it has worked for me in middle school as well. I teach global perspectives in middle school now, right now, and IGCSE levels. So what I'm here to present is a very simple strategy, which is called newspaper journal. So that I would go to the next slide. This is evidence of children's work. So what I have given them is an option to pick one article, not a news report, an article which interests them. It could be of any subject, really pertaining to any subject. Stick it in their notebooks, write a brief summary of it, and pick new vocabulary, which you can find probably in it, and some facts and statistics, which later on would help them in writing probably essays, articles, whatever. So that's all. That's about it. So the strategy is only that much. They pick one article a day. And depending on the class, I tell them, pick an article which is of like 150 to 200 words, pick 400. I keep increasing the level, scaling it up for them. I would say that it has really, really worked. It has been working for the last several years. And so this school, when I started GP again after a long period, I haven't taught GP in a while. And when I started, I could see that their level of responses, the level, meaning the content which they can put into their answers and their style of writing definitely improves. The end of the week, what I do is we have a gallery walk where all their notebooks are kept open. So children walk around the room, they look at each other's notebooks. They look at what articles the others have picked up, what articles they have picked up. And then I give them like 15 minutes to discuss. And then I give them all 1 minute to come up and speak about, like whose newspaper, journal, and what articles they did. Basically like a reflection session at the end of the week. So it's really nice to see even those who were not interested at the beginning to start off slowly and then come and tell me, ma'am, this week I could do only 3, but then I'm trying to see if next week I can do more. And for children who are having a difficulty with writing, spellings, grammar, it becomes easy for them to go ahead and present this kind of. That's about it. I'm done. So I'll just move to the last slide. This is a few of the things that it has really helped me with. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Janet ma'am, may I ask?
Yes, sir.
So the first thing is, how much time have you given to this presentation? Like how much time you have given for preparation or in the preparation of this presentation itself?
For this presentation, meaning the preparation of the slides, or for to just press?
Yes, the slides only.
It didn't take much because I have always had the students' evidence with me. So this is something I've been doing in the class. So it did not take me much time. I just had the evidence with me. I have put it in the slides. That's about it.
Last question. What is the agenda of this whole activity, whole strategy? Like where have you exactly applied it and what is the exact outcome you have achieved out of this?
The exact outcome that I have achieved out of it is that I have helped or enabled my students to stay abreast of current affairs and also to improve their skills in communication. And what exact strategy it is? This is a teaching strategy which I'm using in the classrooms. Instead of I don't know. I couldn't think of a better way to equip my learners to become one, globally aware, and two, to improve their communication skills.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Janet.
Yes,
May I
ma'am.
ask you a question? Yeah. Quite interesting to know how you have, begun honing the reading and research skills of students. In
Yes.
this way, I think, they're really learning so much, how to pick up articles and summarize them. So if they're summarizing, they are reading them in detail, vocabulary is being enhanced. So my question is, you said that they are only expected to pick up articles, not reports and the like.
No, I meant the newspaper day to day, like the news reports, because children then tend
Okay,
to pick up, like crime. Children pick up
right.
things, yeah, which do not allow much scope for summarizing. And it's also not necessary for them to, like read crime and things like that, which are not exactly relevant for them to know about current affairs. So I tell them, if it can be used, it is expanding your knowledge of, there are so many other things in the newspapers which are of not
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much
of course.
relevance to
All
them.
topics, yes. But they are permitted to look up an article on crime once in a while, isn't it? I
Yeah,
mean, if
definitely. The
something,
newspaper is in their hands. I do
hands,
not,
yes, yes.
I do not bar them from looking at any article for that matter.
Yeah,
Um,
I suppose you encourage them to look at
I
a
just
variety
suggest,
of
even in the
topics.
notebook, in the journal, I just make a note saying, I suggest that you take up this. I suggest that you take up that. But
Yeah,
having
that's
said,
great. Yeah. Fine, fine. So you are basically giving them a lot of freedom, and
yes,
maybe at times
definitely.
you could. Yeah, sorry. Go on, ma'am.
Because there are students who would pick up, like most of the journal is with sports. That's still fine. So I
Right, right.
maybe the next time I just encourage them saying, okay, this week or for the last 2 weeks you've been doing sports. Why don't you consider
Great.
any other topic which would interest you? So
Yes. Yeah,
and I
wonderful.
open up a discussion like, yes.
That's important. Yes, you are making them read about a variety of topics. Yeah. Thank you,
Mm.
Mr.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from the jury or any questions from the audience? You can put it in the chat. So, Ms. Janet, yeah, sure, Ms. Nagma.
Yeah, is it possible to take a look at some writing if that could be shared? Like, because
I think, okay, the summary writings you mean, ma'am?
yeah, like maybe one or two just for knowledge,
I think I
because
had
that would
put
be
it
the
in the
learning
slide.
outcome.
Yeah, just 1
Yeah,
minute.
maybe I missed it because I was out of
Yes.
the meet for some time. So
Should
just
I
quickly,
again
if you could,
just
yeah, just
screen?
yeah,
Particular slide you
yeah,
can show.
yeah.
Okay,
It's
1
just
minute.
that I was out of the meet for some time, so I just,
Ma'am, I'm just showing.
yeah,
And this is 2 slides I have.
okay.
Is it seen, ma'am? Is it like seen or
If you could just zoom in a bit, ma'am.
1 minute, ma'am?
Otherwise, it's okay. What I could do is you have shared the document, so I will take a look there. Not an issue, ma'am. Okay. I can see now. Yeah. All right.
Sometimes the students do come back and say, ma'am, there was no new vocabulary I found.
Right.
Then I tell them, children, step up the article that you're reading, like move to the next level. Like look at your interest, but also look at, articles that are a little more complex. So those
Great,
suggestions are
great.
also given. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. And how do they make use of this vocabulary if they're listing it somewhere?
They are listing it somewhere whenever they list it. And then since it is used in the gallery walk also, they make note of the words that they learn together like that. And then there
Oh,
is a
great. Yeah.
discussion which opens up. Yes. So at the end of
All
the
right.
week during the gallery walk, the time is given for that.
Okay, okay. And have you consciously seen over the years, since you've been doing this pretty well from quite some time, have you seen that they consciously use those words in whatever
Yes,
they
ma'am,
write for
they
you?
do. They do. They do. And they, in
Okay,
fact,
okay.
say, ma'am, you remember I used this word. I had written this down there, or somebody else had written it. You remember? I came and, we get into that. Yeah, it
Yeah,
definitely.
great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Miss.
Thank you, Ms. Janet. You can stop sharing your screen.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just had a question that what's the student teacher ratio in your class?
Ma'am, it is in each class there are about 15.
Okay, so you have assistant teacher as well, or just one?
No, no, it's only me.
Minus the 15 it is. Okay,
Yes.
all right.
I've one class it's 15, then grade 7 it is like 20. Then I have had classes, the English classes I've had about 25. So yeah, it varies.
So do you think that this approach would be challenging if the number of students were increased, if the student teacher ratio is not something which is at par, then do you think this activity that you have implemented would be a challenge?
Um, it is a matter, yes, it would be a challenge in terms of looking at their journals on a day-to-day basis. But having said that, uh, I don't check it day-to-day basis. I check it weekly once and I allow for the gallery walk. So yes, it is a challenge. Then in that case, like when I had 25 students, what I used to do is I make it like a group activity or a like a not a pair share, but a group activity where there are 5 students in a group. Maybe they all look at each other's books, they comment on it, and then it comes to me where I review the summary writing per se. But yeah, comfortable ratio. It has worked for 25. The max I think I have had in the past is about 29. Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. You can stop sharing your screen.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I log out as well, or?
Sure. In case you wish to log out, you can.
Yeah, thank you so much. No, we are at school and we are having
Sure.
another meeting going on. So I
Sure,
just pulled myself out. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So we have a next participant.
Yes, so the next participant is Miss Smita Banerjee. She's a high school educator and she'll be presenting on science.
Yes, Ms. Smita, you could introduce yourself and then I'll start your timer.
Okay, and should I have to share my screen for the presentation, or you will be playing my presentation?
No, you can share your presentation. So you are
Okay,
in
right.
control of it.
Okay. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Smita Banerjee. I am teaching in the North Star School, Rajkot, Gujarat. I am teaching in grade 11 and 12, physics and mathematics. So today I will be sharing one of my teaching practices. So when I have started my career, at that time I have started with grade 7. So this is a teaching practice from grade 8. So today I will be sharing my teaching practice of journey graph. The learning objective is to understand the distance time graph, and then by giving an extension to this knowledge, they have to create their own journey graph to enhance their mathematical, reasoning, and analytical skills. So the steps, first, the teacher will be introducing the concept. That is, they will be learning the distance time graph. After that, the first part of the extension is to create a journey story. The learners themselves will be creating a journey story. They will make the observation table. After that, they will plot the graph. They will analyze their own graph. This is the first extension. And then adding to this, it can be used as an assessment methodology also, that the teacher will be swapping the graphs and the stories, and then the learners need to interpret each other's graph, that which story is matching with which graph. So here, the first step is to understand or to build the understanding of the distance time graph. So when we are learning in physics, the first kinematics part, we are introducing the concept of distance, time, speed, velocity. So here, they will be learning the distance, time, and the speed. So after that, they have to learn that how the graph will look like. So we will discuss the various parts of the graph, just like what the slope indicates, what a straight slope indicates, what is the horizontal line indicating. If there is a steeper slope, then what that slope indicates. So we will discuss all these things in our basic understanding class. And then the next session will be, the teacher will be asking the students to write their own journey. So a simple example will be shown to them. Just like here, they have to think of simple journey. For example, from the home to school, or while they are walking in the park, or if they went for some road trip, they have to think in the perspective that they have to make 4 to 6 key points, and they have to jot down that at what time they have begun, how much distance they have covered. So these things will be told to them by the teacher. And then the learners are asked to create their own journey story. So this is a picture from my learner who have jot down their own creative story. So here, there are two examples. One is from a bright student and one is from a poor or weak student. So they have jot down their creative journey story. So here, the Fiona left from Lustri on an elephant. After 20 minutes, elephant walked 10 kilometers. After that, elephant took a break of 10 minutes for drinking water. Soon the elephant walked 20 kilometers in 40 minutes. Again, they took a break for 10 minutes as Fiona wanted to do photography of exquisite view. Soon they walked 50 kilometers in 60 minutes and were nearer to the destination. Oof, Fiona was so fond of taking selfies that she took 15 minutes in that. After that, they again started traveling and covered 60 kilometers in 70 minutes and reached the destination. So this is one of the story the learner has written. And then based on that, I have guided the student that they have to break the story in different sections, and whatever time they have written, they have to plot it here for different sections, the distance covered and what is the speed. So based on the story, the first story, they have done this type of sections. So this Fiona story, this is the sections of the journey, how much distance they have covered in how much time, in minutes, and then what is the speed. So they have calculated the speed as well. Basically, the speed is distance upon time. So they have calculated like this. This is for the second story. Again, this journey is broken down into several sections. The distance and the time are noted, and then the speed is calculated. After that, like I have directed the learners that they have to plot a graph based on the observation table. So they have to label the graph, and then they have to plot the points, and then they have to highlight different sections. And then the learners have drew their plots, and then they have highlighted different sections of the graph. So this is for the second story. The fourth section in extension 1 is to analyze their own graph, where I have directed the learners to identify their own graph, and then they have to reflect on the questions like which part of the journey took the longest, where did I stop, what does the steeper slope represent. So they have got the idea that how this what is the steep slope is speed, and then what is the time for the stationary. When they have stopped, that time, what is the time? And then what is the gradual movement they are showing, that slow movement, those things they have analyzed. So this is the first extension part, where the learners have showed their creativity in creating the journey story. then plotting the observation table, and then plotting the graph. After this, in the next third or fourth slot, the different stories are here. You can see that the different stories are written in the colored papers and the graphs. So the teacher has swapped all the graphs and the stories. So basically these are labeled. So the graphs are labeled as 1, 2, 3, 4, and the journeys are written as A, B, C, D. And the learners were asked that they have to read the story and then they have to match that which part of the story is matching with which graph. So this is the assessment part where I have swapped the graphs and the journey story, and the learners need to interpret each other's journey. So they have not read their other story, and thereby they are now trying to interpret. This is the rubrics which I have developed based on how I am going to mark. So there are 5 portions. One is creative writing, how creative they are. Then the contextual relevance. Are they able to make the observation table based on this? Then drawing the distance time graph, that is plotting. And then what is the mechanics? Are they able to match the graph, the journey story and the graph? And then how is the subject knowledge? Are they able to interpret their own graph or not? So this is the rubrics which is made to assess the learner's understanding. So by doing this activity, I can say that the learners have built their conceptual understanding by grasping the fundamentals of distance-time relationship. They have enhanced their creativity when they were asked to narrate the story and design their story. They were able to do that in a creative way. After that, the data collection, they are able to write their own observation table with accurate distance and time. Then they have learned the graphing skills as well. They are able to plot the points correctly. Then they are able to think analytically their own graphs. Then they are able to think critically by matching each other's journey story. And thereby they are exchanging their own graph and discussing the interpretation with their peers. So these are the learning outcomes which can be received by doing this activity of distance time graph. Thank you.
Smita ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes.
My question is, what was the engagement ratio when you were teaching this thing, and for exactly which grade students you have taught this?
This I have taught for grade 8.
Okay.
In grade 8, they have segregated the science in between physics, chemistry, and biology. So
Okay.
there they are starting with the kinematics portion, that is distance, time, and speed thing. So that time this was introduced. So when this is introduced, it is slightly, when the things are introduced like distance, time, and speed, it is easy to make them understand. But when the graph is when I have started with the graph, it was difficult for them. So that time I thought that how I can make it like engaging. So I thought of giving them first an example and then asking them to write a story. So I can see that there is a lot of enthusiasm between the learners. So they were very excited to learn this type of activity, this type of concept by using this activity. So when I was teaching the graph, it was difficult.
We have
But
to take some hypothetical number. So what was the approximately engagement ratio? Like 60% students were engaged, 30%.
most, I can say that only 1 or 2 learners were finding difficulty.
Okay.
Otherwise, the learners were quite capable because I have given them the example. I have first shown what I am expecting, and then it was asked to them. So
Got it.
it was quite engaging.
Got it. Got it.
Can you show me the first few slides of your presentation?
I want half kilo base.
I found the idea of the story really interesting.
you,
And I
ma'am.
can understand why your students were so engaged, Miss.
Yes. So this is my second slide. This is the third slide.
Done.
Fourth slide. Fifth slide.
Yeah, just pause here.
Yes.
I think here the learning also would be immense because students may have to, find out what is the pace of an elephant and so on. Do they do that, Miss? Like,
I have asked them because I told them that human average walking speed. So we discussed that
yes.
too. Like a human
Okay.
walking speed is 4 km/h. So that way we have introduced these things also. When I was teaching them the distance time graph or distance time speed relationship, that time we have discussed this type of things also.
Okay, good. So I think that sort of adds to their learning.
Actually,
Thank you.
I'm a maths teacher also. So thereby, I have introduced the proportionality things also, just like the distance, speed is equal to distance upon time. So the
Time,
speed and
yes.
distance are directly proportional. Speed and time are inversely proportional. So if
Yes.
I reduce the time, what will happen? So those things are also discussed. But after this things,
Okay. Thank you for answering.
These
Thank you.
stories were created by the students.
yes, ma'am.
So what was the scaffolding provided to create these stories? You help them with the steps.
Yes. Sorry, I could not understand.
So how did they arrive at the story?
uh, like I have told them that this there is a rubric and your creativity matters. So you have to you can write your own story and you can build your story as well. So if you can think of something different, it will be good. So just like Yash was not able to think, but then I helped him to build this type of story. So you can see that this is a very simple story where he is going to a shopping mall and then he is uh, doing the things. So here I have helped the learner in thinking, whereas here the learner has thought of something random thoughts. So
Yeah, very nice, very creative, I think. Because
thank
if
you,
the
ma'am.
learner is able to come up with this kind of story, which means that the concept is understood well. So I liked how you have also integrated language, so use of language. So that's lovely. Can you show me the rubrics one?
Yes, and also the real life situations
Real life
that have
situation,
been
yes.
brought into. Yes.
In our school, we are giving the engagement also, that how the learners are engaged, though they will not be able to touch upon the subject knowledge or the concepts, but if they are able to engage within the activity, that also we are marking in the rubrics. So in the later part, this subject knowledge and engagement are combined together. So this rubric is modified and then we have added the subject knowledge and engagement.
Yeah, very nice. Very creative.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Smita.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now you can stop the screen share.
Okay.
Can we have a next participant?
Yes, so the next participant is Miss Paromita Bhattacharjee. She is a high school educator and she'll be presenting on science.
Good morning everyone here. I'm just sharing my screen.
Ms. Paramita, you are not audible. It's not clear. If you could be a little louder
Just a second.
or adjust your mic volume.
Yeah, I think I have a sore throat as well. So,
Okay.
hello, is this audio volume okay
Yes,
now?
much better,
Yes?
much better.
Okay, yeah. Just give me a second. All right. So, I teach physics, and my cohort that I address at school is grade 9 and grade 11 and 12. So, the cohort is very difficult with their concentration span and their interest. And then physics is not everyone's favorite subject to keep them involved. So I try very simple strategies to have engaged classroom, and I like to give them some funny names so that they will just keep on wondering, oh, what we going to do today? Why does it sound so non-physics and non-scientific? Just to hook up their curiosity to start with, I'm going to just display and explain few of the strategies that I have used in classroom. Many of them have their base and reference to the Project Zero that's been shared by Harvard for developing visual thinking routines. And I've just modified them to suit my cohort and my classroom, addressing some key issues which usually students struggle with. My first topic that we've used in classroom, it's in a grade 9 classroom. The main intention of using strategies or to impart the subject in the class is to develop independent learner agency, to develop the voice of the student through guided steps so that they can progress one after the other and take the ownership of the subject. Of course, through scaffolded and guided steps, which takes them through different zones of their development. I'm starting with unwrapping the parcel, a very simple game that we are very fond of receiving gifts. So when we have this, to build up the hype of what the gift actually is, we keep on layers of packing, working on that mindset. I developed a parcel for my students, and they did have a gift at the center. The gift was lollipops, which they love having at the end of a physics lesson for sure. So the parcel was in different wraps. There were layers, each layer which comes with an instruction. The lesson objective was to prepare them for the planning task, which is a 7 marks question which comes on paper 5 of IGCSE practical papers. It's also there in alternative to practical. Now, what's the challenge? The task itself by itself is not that daunting for a science student, but the challenge is the time pressure. For time pressure, developing the speed of thinking and delivering is also very critical. That's why the practice was accordingly developed. Okay, so they had a 15 minutes time slot and they were given a parcel and they were working in group and they had to unpack a parcel. So if you see, these are fragments of pictures that has been captured in the classroom. The target was to this one, answer the problem that was given them in form of a planning task. And then they had this parcel, as you can see. There are 7 very critical steps in this planning task, and they are marked for 7 marks according to these steps. And there are some bullet points which are there to drive the students accordingly. So behind was a scaffolded sheet where each layer had the students were asked to identify the focus of the layer according to the instruction, connect it to the task given at hand, pick up the focus. Like, let's say the first step was aim. So, aim for any experimental planning is the major focus to start with. So, now you have a task also along with that. So, they picked up the aim from the task given to them. And they proceeded to the next step, which was once you know what you're going to investigate, what are your variables? So, what are the 3 types of variable was the focus, and they connected it. So, this was the first preparation task a student had to do when they were introduced to the concept of planning. They already know that they have a planning task, they only had to go through the steps and they kept on unwrapping. Time was also a focus and they moved ahead. So, this was the first task, and the end result was the submitted sheet, which was stepwise scaffolded. So this was done in a grade 9 classroom. And the next strategy used was peeling the fruit. Concepts like momentum, which takes a little deeper to sink into the students. If peeled in through point and point steps, I use this mind mapping and peeling tasks a lot in the classroom, which gives them very directed focus instructions of the steps that follow. This is again peeling the fruit of a planning task, reinforcement of the unwrapping parcel, carrying them forward, making them more and more independent in delivering the task. Even within the subtask, it was further peeled in to go deeper into the fruit to identify what exactly was expected, because the goal was do a full planning within the 7 or 10 minutes of urgent time that you have at the end of a practical session. So they had to think and learn first and know exactly what to deliver. This is some more example of peeling that I've done for momentum, because they come with very mixed solutions. Right, left hand side, you can see it was the enquiry question through which we delved into the major concept, and we just pieced it up into different steps. And from each step, they had to go deeper in and prepare themselves, knowing what is to be done, and prepare accordingly, practice accordingly. Another very common thing I use in class is the choice board, giving children the choice to deliver the output. So we have this energy resource topic in science and physics, which they find very boring because they've been doing it since middle school. To make it interesting and challenging, we made it into a research oriented task. And we gave them some very contemporary research questions. They did have a choice. They could choose the energy resource they wanted to, and they also had a choice to pick up the research question, and it was delivered as a this is the outcome. As you can see, the this is one presentation. Actually, you can see the creativity in the presentation addressing the research question, and the output after this, they of course had a reflection sheet where they brainstorm their learning and connect it with the actual syllabus content. Moving forward, again, a hookup plan, the starter activity in my classroom was for the energy resource. Why learn at all? Why every class is the focus on energy? Connecting to the UN requirement of sustainability. Issues faced. What issue would you face if you run out of resources? What issue is your community going to face? How are you going to address? And think of your country. Are we going to face issues? So students did a brainstorming session where they tried to identify problem, that's the left hand side, the circles of concern, and the right hand side. They also gave out some solutions which they thought they can be used. So this was the precursor. They started with this, and then they delved into their research, and they presented to the class, and then they reflected. So this was a journey of around 2 weeks, but very short span within the classroom, so that they also don't lose too much of teaching time. Research was the homework assignment that they took up. Okay. Okay, this is again the choice of output as per the students. So many of them likes writing, many of them likes speaking, some likes acting, some likes to actually do science, and some likes to reflect. So I have this dice, and then they're it's not all open, right? It is on your luck as well. So the dice number is your luck factor, and then you still have three choices from which you can decide. So I did this with momentum in my class, and you can see this is the output I got. Some mind maps, brilliant mind maps with creativity. Look at the comic story. I also did this for my grade 12 when they were doing the life cycle of a star, and then they had different masses of star. And you would not believe the brilliant story IB2s with the pressure of application, and they did reflect it in their comic strip of star with the pressure of studies. I don't have the samples, but they were so creative, and they brought it out so well, and they presented to the class. So kept them very engaged and motivated, trying to show what they're feeling at the same time learning the concept. And this also worked so well with my A2. They did a silent debate. No one was allowed to speak. No one was allowed to speak, but they were given some picture prompts. And you see the output. They were doing electromagnetic induction, tough topic. Their mind was in application. They were finding it hard to focus. So I gave them some picture prompts. And they were given sketch pens and they worked and found, then started jotting down what they know about the pictures and how they can connect to their learning. And they were not allowed to speak at all. It was a total silent class. After the time, it was a 10 minutes activity. They stepped back and then they were asked to do a gallery walk. They had to go to other different groups and they can add and they can point out whether they did correct or whether something was missing. And then that kind of reinforced their learning. I think my time's over. So, should I stop?
How many slides are there?
I think just one.
Yeah, you can go ahead if it's
Yes.
just.
This is again, usually the challenge question that our kids get is a physics practical paper in AS level. So just making them give a full question kind of puts them in C. So I like chunking the questions in steps, starting with very basics or bringing them, giving them the comfort of the lab. There are many students who come from ATP background where they've not really done a board exam with practicals. So that kind of helps them to calm down and breathe and play with the instruments around. And these are some steps I take them through before they actually sit with the actual question paper and the questions. I think I'll just stop there. I found my class. I think I have seen many situations where they look forward to the class because they can't predict my class. They don't know what's up today, and the terms are so vague and so non-physics. So they are very curious to look forward to what's actually going to happen, and that is the start point, and then they are all hooked to it. And it also helps them to develop thinking skills, visually thinking, critically, not stopping, not really judging. Also, communication skills develop a lot, and research skills. We place a lot of emphasis on research as well, and the source is authentication and all that. I think that's all from me. Thank you very much for the chance to speak and the opportunity.
Thank you, Paramita. Indeed, very creative, and I never knew physics could be taught in such an engaging manner, and I wish I was a
Thank you
student
so
in your
much.
class.
Thank
So
you.
these
Yes.
activities that you have taken, are these taken from the visual thinking routines, or have you tweaked those visual thinking
I
routines?
have tweaked, ma'am, and
Yeah.
many of it are just something it comes to my mind because of the background. I'm always trying to think, this is a problem. This they keep on reporting. I don't like it. I don't get it. So how to, engage them, especially that is practical paper. The last question, the last two questions I've seen over years, they lose marks, 4+4 marks. So I had to keep on thinking of a strategy to give confidence to them. And finally, I have not presented that because of the limitation. I did come up with a mind mapping technique with the students themselves. At the end of the class, they said, "Oh, thank God, we are relieved. I think we get it now, what exactly to do and how to prepare." So that kind of helps. So I have to tweak, and I tweak every year, and I don't really repeat depending on the cohort levels. I have to change year to year.
Got it. I was just very curious to understand how did you do the circle of control, circle of concern activity with them. So I saw that it was on the use of coal. The
Yeah,
top.
it was mainly because it was the starting point of energy resources, and then they come with that board look again. You're teaching energy resources, ma'am. How many years are we going to learn the same thing? So I said, okay, are we not going to do the same thing? Let's do something different. Let's see what you think about it rather than me telling what's going to happen or what's happening around. Why don't we? And I have actually censored one which was so funny because they did put the prime minister and said we're looking for nuclear power, nuclear energy, but why not, instead of making weapons, tap it to make something useful and like, not stress our coal reserves. So they did come up, sometimes maybe not so favorable ideas, but they think a lot and they look around. And sometimes, after that lesson, they made sure that the practical lights are off, the room lights are off when they leave the classroom, because they know that something concerning and we're really running out of reserves. So I started with it's actually a 7 minutes activity, a start of the class activity. They come in, and then I said, okay, let's brainstorm and see what you think about all these situations rather than what I think. And then I say, okay, I agree with this. Maybe we can do this. What do you think we should be doing on this? Why is it happening? Why are we not able to pick up? Are we picking up on renewable energy resource in the country? Is something lacking from the government point, or are we not able to devise technology to handle it better? So we taught it in more interactive way.
Can I have a look at that slide of circle of control? Was it
Yes,
made by
ma'am.
the students?
Yes, yes. But the basic outline was done by me before the class. I gave them the circle so that, we also save on time, because I didn't want to spend the whole class doing that, as we had to move on with the teaching as well. Uh,
What was the total time duration taken for this activity?
Sorry, ma'am, just give me a second. We took 7 minutes. This was the thing. We took 7 minutes because the basic three circles, the central concept, you, community, country, that part I did. I prepared before I came to the class. I knew I were going to make it into four groups, so I made four of these work chart and kept it ready. And I just got the sketch pens also ready. So they just had the what they need to do was told to them, and they get started. They got started on it.
Ma'am, how much time you took to prepare these activities?
So many of my plannings I do during the weekend when I get all these ideas, because I'm thinking about my next week. We this didn't take much time. I got the circles drawn,
And how do
and
you make a structure of it, like with any software or some pen and paper, or like what?
sometimes it's software. Like, I use some ready-made available resources. Like if you see this was a ready-made resource which I picked up, and I connected to the lesson that I was going to use. So this I didn't have to, I just got the idea to use it, and then I knew where to place it, and I just put it in class. But this was totally hands-on task. Because I didn't want to spend too much time on actually working on it, but I wanted students to get engaged and get focused. So sometimes it's hands-on, sometimes it's ready-made resources, and the
Which is
teacher.
generally used in language classes, used in a physics class. So that was really interesting. Yes.
And one of my observations also is that they find it very difficult to communicate in writing as well as verbally, even though they get the concept well. So when they write like this, just brainstorm, that gives them more opportunity to develop their written communication skills as well as when they present or they research, they're very excited, and they also develop oral communication. So that kind of develops the thinking as well.
And what are the technical academic pointers they have learned with this whole activity and the whole process?
Okay, so I will I'm just stopping the sharing. I'm showing you the reflection sheet, which they had to do after this. So they did have a reflection sheet to follow
I'm
up.
just interpreting in between. Just
Yes,
wanted
sir.
to know, is this reflection something which is aligned with assessment, or is this a different thing?
It's a, it's aligned with two objectives. One's how their group work went. So basically, social skills and communication skills were assessed, and their learning, which was aligned according to the assessment objectives of the syllabus as well. So the reflection was a class task after all the group presentations were done, and it was an individual task just to ensure all of them participated equally in the group activity. So I'm just going to show you this. The first part was their role and contribution, their personal reflection, which is again a focus on social skills. And you can see it's a formative assessment. It was actually assessed. Where did they get their research skills? So all the approaches to teaching and learning skills, some of them were addressed here: research skills, communication skills, and social skills. And then what learning, what was their personal reflection on learning through this activity, and where did they think they wanted to improve. They also did a peer evaluation. This was the first part, group activity based. Later, we moved into test your understanding. This was aligned with the assessment objective of the curriculum and syllabus. Did they understand what a renewable energy resource was? And then what does it mean? What kind of advantage we get over fossil fuel? Which renewable energy resource did depend on sun? And like, how do you compare wind and solar energy in terms of reliability? So these were all framed from the kind of questions based on the assessment objectives that they are expected in their actual summative assessments when they're sitting for the board exam. There was also, you see, a open-ended question, which was a thinking skill question, like, can we classify nuclear as renewable energy? So very intensely developed so that we don't miss the final target that they are preparing for their boards eventually.
Got it.
Yeah, it's
Any
very
other?
well thought of. And we have a question from a jury over here.
Okay.
Rajita, I think she's having some issues. So she's posted the question. She's asking that how do you check for agency being demonstrated in your cohort? And what might we see in the classroom that will tell us students are empowered?
All right. So the brainstorming was a totally independent brainstorming. Like when they wrote their concern, there was no guideline at all. It was a open thing that you please put in what you think. That is the empowerment we do. And then we do discuss very openly, like, why do you think, let's say, I'll take a very good example. We were talking of hydroelectricity, and they were asked to explore where does India stand with respect to developing hydroelectricity as a renewable energy resource. And then the question I ask them is, why do you think what it is wherever we are? What is your idea? And they did speak out very openly without any, there was no telling them that don't say this, you're not allowed to speak this. We are discussing. So that an empowerment we do. Then sometimes the choice of topic is their choice. I give some options. That's just a guideline provided, but they're open to choose. They chose their energy resource. They chose the research question they wanted to work on. They choose how they want to present. There is one very good role play or video I have, which is on momentum, and you could see how nicely they were showing elastic and inelastic collision by acting actually. And in that, the starting point, they did say that they were scared of me and they don't like physics. That was also the place. So they were empowered to speak out their mind, and it was all in good play and good attitude. So they are allowed to speak, and it's always a feedback after every activity. Did you learn anything? Did you have something to take home with you, or was it a waste of time? Make it very, I make it, I just make it essential round up at the end of the day, because your feedback is very important. That's what they know, that they can tell teacher where to work on, or did it go good.
Well said.
Uh,
Well said. Thank you. Thank you so much, Paramita.
yeah, I'm sorry. I am in middle of a PTM, so I need
Sure.
to
Go
rush.
ahead. Go ahead.
Thank
Yeah.
you very
Thank you
much.
so
Thank
much. So this was on physics, and I think
You're on mute.
we'll just take a break of 2 minutes where I'm going to be presenting a poll for the audience. We are done with 3 presentations, and whoever is in the audience can actually vote for those 3 presentations and have a look at the scores and accordingly decide, reflect that which of the presentation ideas presented was something which can be implemented right away, or bits and pieces of those ideas can be implemented right away. So here, this is a poll for the audience. I've already shared. The jury members will not be able to mark the poll. I'm sharing the results of the poll as well. We have 75% for presentation 1, 75% for presentation 2, and 80% for presentation 3. All right, so we move ahead.
So the next presenter is Miss Vanita Kabra. She's a high school educator and she'll be presenting on social studies.
Good morning, everyone. Just one second. Okay, I'll introduce myself first. Well, I am Miss Vanita Kabra and I teach economics at Children's Academy International School. And not only economics, I also teach reflective project. So basically, I'm an IB teacher. And so from past 2 years, I am catering to IBCP board. But before I used to teach ICSE board. So the lesson which I am taking today is basically in collaboration with my service learning teacher and my business teacher. So I'll just present my screen. One second. Oh. Just give me 1 minute. I'll just present it. Is the screen visible?
Not yet.
1 second. Facing some issues.
We're sharing, but we are not able to see.
Oh, 1 second. Okay. I think I'm facing some issues. Just give me 2 minutes.
You want us to present your screen?
Yeah, if possible, you can present my this thing.
Yeah. You can stop sharing your screen.
1 second, ma'am. Actually, my this thing is hang up. Just one second.
Do you want to log out and log in again?
Should I share her presentation?
I think I logged her out. I'm just checking if she has joined again. I don't see her.
Today there seems to be some issue on Zoom. I too have been facing this issue of being
Yeah,
locked
I
out.
agree. It's crazy today. You've just been thrown out every 5 minutes. One is
Yes,
thrown out.
same here, ma'am.
If you're logging in from the phone, then could be the issue. Yeah. Vinita, I don't see her. We can move to the next participant.
Okay. Miss Priyanka Lama. She's there, yes. So the next participant is Miss Priyanka Lama. She is a middle school educator and she'll be presenting on language.
You're on mute. Miss Priyanka, you're on mute. No, we can't hear you. Can't hear you. Maybe you can also log out and log in again.
I'm so sorry.
Vanita, you
Yes,
joined,
yes.
right?
Yeah, I joined. 1 second. I'll just check whether I'm able to share. Again, I'm not able to share. I guess there are some issues.
We can share the screen. That's
Yeah,
fine.
ma'am. Please
Should
share now.
I share your presentation, Vanita?
Yes, ma'am. Please. I'm so sorry.
Miss Priyanka, actually, we were going ahead with Miss Priyanka.
So you can take up Miss Priyanka, then I can continue.
Yeah, but we are not able to hear Miss Priyanka. So we
Oh,
what's the issue going on?
okay. So if you can present my presentation, let
Miss
me check.
Priyanka, maybe you can log out and log in once again.
I can just check once if I'm able to present. 1 second. I'll just check once. Let me check if I'm able to present, then we can proceed ahead. Miss, I can present now, I think. 1 second. Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
No, we can just see.
It's in
the
loop, yeah.
Oh, okay. 1 second. Again, it's hanged, I guess.
No problem. We'll present the screen.
But I need to stop sharing now. Oh.
We'll be able to present, I guess.
Okay. So is my sharing stopped? So then you all can present. Is it stopped? Because I can't see that.
Since we are the host, I guess we'll be able to present.
Okay, ma'am. So
I'll try. I'll try
let me
sharing
check.
the screen. Allow multiple
Yeah, we can see.
presentations.
We can
Allow.
see.
1 second, ma'am, because
You don't have to do anything right now. Right now, the screen is visible. The presentation is visible. Yeah.
1 second, ma'am, I can't see my screen.
Oh,
I think we can take the next participant if possible.
So you can join in from your phone.
Yeah, I'll
Log-
do that. 1 second.
Log out from this device, join in from your phone and speak.
Okay.
Your
Yes.
presentation is anyway visible.
Okay, just 1 second.
Hello, Ms. Rakik. Are you able to hear me? I'm just testing
Yes.
my mic. I apologize.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you will need to either
Yeah.
one
One
device,
second.
disable your audio on the other device.
Yeah, I'll do that. Am I audible now? Again.
Yes, you need to log out from the other device. Only one
Yeah,
device.
that device is behind. 1 second.
Miss Priyanka, you were audible.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, you can take up Miss Priyanka's presentation.
Miss Vinita, you just need to log out from one device and speak from
Yeah, but
your phone. That's it.
okay. I think now it's fine, right?
Now it's fine. Perfect.
1 second, I'll just, okay. Okay, so the topic which I have selected for today's presentation is sustainability and climate change. Ma'am, could you change the slide? Okay, so the very first step when I consider my lesson plan teaching strategy, it is first is setting the learning objectives, making the learners aware that what they are going to learn today. Then we do a recall, that is testing the prior knowledge of the students. Then I introduce a new concept with some activity, explaining the concept, application of that concept in real world, and reflection and recap. And finally, after reflection, I can, yes, take away that, yes, the learning objective is clear to the students. Next slide. Okay, so these were the learning objectives. Now here I'm considering that I've already explained sustainability concept to my students, and we are discussing the meaning of climate change, connecting it with sustainability and obviously the real world implications. So the recap of sustainability, now I decided to conduct this in the form of an activity-based learning, wherein I conducted a hot seat performance. Ma'am, next slide. Yeah, so this was the activity that I conducted. Now here what I did, I gave some chits to my students, wherein on one chit it was written a hot seat performer, and the remaining students were just the audience or an interviewer or a journalist. You can just change the slide, ma'am. So you can see one child who is sitting in the center. She is the hot seat performer, and the remaining students are the interviewers or journalists or an audience. And I gave them some time to prepare few sets of questions related to sustainability, testing the prior knowledge, and the journalists or the interviewers were given an opportunity to ask questions to the hot seat performer. Ma'am, please change the slide. So the students asked various questions related to sustainability, and if required, like we have to check as a teacher, it was my duty to check that the students should not digress from the topic. So as a result, I checked that whether the students are going on the right track, are they asking the right questions. So you can, ma'am, just one click more. One more click. Okay, so the questions that I prepared were few sets of questions like this. It started from image building questions, like there were few images which were shown on the screen. So these are all image based questions. Then I turned into case study based questions. We can proceed ahead, ma'am. So these were the case study based questions that the students were actually asking to the hot seat performers. And since my class strength is very small, so I had only one hot seat performer. But if your class strength is say 40 students or say 50 students, you can even have 2 to 3 students on the hot seat performer. So these 2-3 students can take up an initiative for answering those questions. But if they are not able to answer, obviously the teacher can intervene and answer those questions. So this was the recap tool that I had taken for my lesson. Then they came up with the meaning of sustainability, which was actually taught to them in the earlier class. Ma'am, we can proceed ahead. Now, what they are going to learn in the current class is sustainability and climate change. Now, the reason for taking this topic is we all know that what are the impacts of climate change nowadays. And it is very important for the student to get that clarity that what is climate change and how they can, protect our economy from all these various impacts of climate. So for this, I had already shared one resource with them as a flipped classroom resource. It was already shared a week prior with the students. You can just go to the next slide, ma'am. Yeah. So this was a screenshot of that resource where the students were supposed to read this resource. And this is an online simulator which I am going to conduct in my live classroom. Ma'am, can you proceed? Ma'am, we can proceed ahead. Okay, if you could click this link. So till the link is opening, what I did is I asked my students, I divided my class into groups of say 4 because I have a strength of say 16 students. So I divided them into group of 4. You can divide it on the basis of chits or just randomly roll number 1 to 4 in one group. And I asked them to set few parameters. You can see down there are parameters. Ma'am, could you go back to one slide? Okay, no problem, ma'am. So these parameters.
I can't see any link to be clicked.
Ma'am, back.
Sorry.
If you go back now, there is one link. Okay, anyways, I'll
Miss, if
continue
it's a
with it.
PPT, you will have to copy and paste the link in the browser and play from there.
Yeah. I had also, I think it's a Google slide only, ma'am. Ma'am, you can go back.
Further back?
Yeah, back. Back means behind the initial slides. Okay, so this was like if you see on the screen, when you click on that link, now you will see that there is an expected increase in temperature of say 3.3 degrees Celsius by first year of 22nd century. But I gave a target to my student that they have to maintain, no ma'am, behind only, that link only. Behind, next slide. But they have to maintain an increase in temperature of say 2 degrees Celsius. And somehow they collaborated and they came up with that increase in temperature. Ma'am, you can proceed ahead.
Tell me which slide to stop on, please.
You can proceed, ma'am. Proceed. So you can see a lot of collaborations happening. Then I asked my students to share whatever parameters they had set on the screen with me. So they shared, means, ma'am, you can proceed. Yeah. So there are various parameters you can see above. They can share it with LinkedIn. They can share it with Facebook or an email. So all the students, there were 4 groups which I had, and all the 4 groups shared their screenshots with me. So down when you see, there are 18 parameters on the screen, and these are all adjustable parameters. Like if I want to reduce the consumption of coal, you all can also go on this website. I would request the attendees, even the jury, to go on this website, and they will help you to set the parameters, and immediately you will feel that the graphs are also moving. So this is the best tool for learning geography also, how it is affecting the business also. So it's an online simulator wherein the student gets knowledge about climate change. Ma'am, you can proceed ahead. So those were the work of my student sample, and see how they are collaborating. A lot of teamwork is there, a lot of discussions are there, and the things are not ending here. Now, when they are saying that we can reduce deforestation, but how is that possible? How can you reduce deforestation? So they have to design the policies also. What initiative will they take to reduce deforestation, or what initiative will they take to reduce the consumption of coal? And then they came up with the meaning of climate change. So this was the meaning, and I always asked them to jot down the meaning in their notebook. Ma'am, you can proceed ahead. Okay, the next is the peer assessment. So again, in an innovative way, it's always, they feel very proud when their friends are assessing them. So I asked them to conduct an online quiz. And the rubric for the quiz were already shared with them. I gave them 10 minutes to go through the rubric. Miss, you can change the slide. So this was the rubric that was shared with the students, and they created that online quiz by using Kahoot app, WordWall. Next slide, ma'am. So these were the quiz that they conducted, and they were feeling so proud. Oh, we are assessing our peers. So this was the best thing that they loved about it. And finally, when they see, oh, we are at the top of the leaderboard, so they feel more proud. So this was the peer assessment that I did. So an innovative way of assessing the peers. And the next part, which is very important, is reflection. So here the reflection is not about activity, but the reflection is about what was their positive takeaway from climate change. What was the negative thing that they think that needs to be discarded? And the real world example, the interesting facts. So I've listed few. That the positive thing was like they need to conserve resources. The values that they develop, they have to be empathetic. They have to actually, protect their environment. The minus thing was the greenhouse gas emission, which is taking place, or more of coals, more of non-renewable energies which are used. We should reduce the consumption. And the interesting fact was the real world example that they came up, even the recent Los Angeles fire that was taking place, even that they connected that example with this. So this was an interesting way of taking the reflection. So I asked them to create a postage and paste it on the chart paper. So this was the PMI activity that I had conducted. And finally, the closer is with the homework. The homework is very innovative. They have to search a news article on climate change and they have to summarize it. That's all from my side. Thank you. So mostly my lesson is around tech tool, because these students now, they love to be with technology. And so I thought, why not take technology and collaborate it? Let the students also collaborate and let the teachers also collaborate.
Vanita ma'am,
Yes, sir.
I was just feeling very good कि आपने इतना experiential इसको बनाया है. The
Thank
point
you, sir.
the topic was economics, then we have sustainability in it, right? So
Yes.
economic parts or which economic terminology the student have learned by the end,
Okay, sir. So
apart from the
yeah.
climate thing.
Yeah. So here, when we start economics for grade 11th, actually we start with teaching a few concepts wherein we have sustainability, which is one of the most important concept. We connected with scarcity. We connected with the choice, because resources are very scarce in universe. And how can you use your resources to the better level? Like students who are going to school, your friend is also coming to school, you are also. Why not carpooling is the best option? And even in our school, we have various projects. Like we have a global funded project of cutting pani, which is an initiative by a service learning teacher who collaborated with me for this lesson, because conducting this lesson in 1 hour or say 40-45 minutes is impossible. So we collaborated and I took her class also and we conducted it. Like I conducted the meaning part of it. So we have a cutting pani project wherein why to waste water, because there is a lot of scarcity of pure drinking water. So even in our school, we follow that initiative that instead of serving the entire glass of water to our guest, why not serve cutting glass? So it's inspired from the theme of Modi ji, that is cutting pani, cutting chai. So why not go for cutting pani? So scarcity, choice, and the trade-off, the opportunity cost, which we have to pay for this.
These will be the intangible part of the economics. So is there
Yes.
any numbers that you have taught or anything which is taking them towards GDP or any other tangible numerical data sort of thing?
Yes. So when, because this was the initial part of my class, but now we have proceeded with GDP also. So how this climate change is affecting the GDP, basically not only India, but even the global economics, how the GDP is getting affected because the overuse of resources, and how the countries are finding shortage of resources. Like petroleum is the best example, wherein we are actually running short of it and we have to import it. So how it is affecting the entire GDP of our country is definitely a challenging thing for them also to understand. But yes, they have to do a lot of research on this. And research, we believe that it should be from an authentic source. We teach them how to do research and always cite whenever they are using any numerical data or any such thing, they have to cite the source.
You have mentioned it, this is for 11th, right?
Yeah, grade 11th and 12th.
Okay, so in 11th only, if we talk about,
Yes.
so do they learn about micro and macro both, or it is just like
Sir, actually, if I say IB Economics, it's a compiled textbook for 11th and 12th, wherein
Yes.
it starts with Introduction to Economics, then we have Microeconomics, then we have Macroeconomics, and then Global Economics. So I have
Got it.
completed with my micro and I've started with initial part of macro also. But it's
Got
not
it.
only that they are learning micro in aloof. They have to connect it with GDP. They have to connect it with inflation. So
Got
it's
it.
all
Got it.
collaborative learning with the students as well.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
What was the time duration for this lesson plan?
This was actually 1.5 hour class. So that's why I collaborated with my service learning teacher and my business teacher, because we all were teaching same concept, how sustainability affects business, how climate change affects business. And when I say service learning teacher, she's actually on SDG goals. So that was the best way wherein we connected with each other and I took up the initiative for explaining the concepts. And then in the later class, we connected with our subjects.
Got it. And what was the engagement on a scale of 1 to 10? How engaged were the students?
Now when I make groups, ma'am, so it's based that I try to include, since my class strength is very small, so I can have that personal attention also, that each and every learner are participating in the group activities. So we as a teacher make it a point that, yes, you have to answer this. Come on, now you say why this policy has been selected. Why do you think that government needs to tax carbon consumption, or why that carbon tax is introduced? So as a result, it was a good engagement class. There was a lot of participation from the students as well. But yes, if the class strength is very high, we can have 2 teachers in the class. They can collaborate and accordingly they can give an initiative that everyone is engaged in the discussion part.
And are they given some pre-read material for this to come?
Yes, I have given a flipped classroom resource for them.
Yeah.
Wherein they read it. But as far as I know, our students, they will not read it seriously. So initial period, we had a good discussion that what was that resource about. But when that simulators, if you go on that website, you yourself will find it so interesting to adjust those parameters. So when you are self-adjusting, it's a hands-on experience for you also. So they actually developed interest when it was lively conducted in the class.
And you also shared some rubric. What was that for?
So that was the peer assessment, because I had given my students the freedom to design a quiz. Because when I ask them question, it may be very monotonous or it may be very this thing. So why not the friends assessing their friends? So I gave 11 students the opportunity to create a quiz for their 11 peers, and grade 12, who are the seniors, were assessing on the basis of the questions that were asked. Are the questions really relevant to the topic? And are the students participating in the quiz? So based on that, the entire 20-mark rubric was designed for them.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Any questions by other jury members? Any questions by the audience or other participants? Please go ahead. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Vinny.
Okay, I think Aparajita ma'am was saying
Hi,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, she.
I
Yeah.
was so I heard the the whole interdisciplinarity of it, and I really like that approach. So when you're looking at students demonstrating the interdisciplinarity or assessing the interdisciplinarity, how does that come through in the learning? That's one part of it. Sorry, I'll just finish because I don't trust my internet.
No problem. Even me too,
So-
ma'am.
The second bit is when you're looking at co-creating rubrics, and that's a very IB way of doing things, right? So when
Yes.
you're co-creating rubrics, is that happening? Is that enablement happening to the students, or is just a set of rubrics that a criteria base that you are giving, and that's what is being assessed and evaluated upon?
No, so I'll take up the rubric question first. Now, when the rubrics are set, ma'am, I actually give it in advance to the students. Let them go through the rubric because they should know what is expected out of them. So it's actually shared with the students. And if they have any ideas to give more about that rubric, we act according, because it's a child-centered learning. We are actually revolving around child. So it's actually that they should be happy with whatever they are learning. So whenever I make rubric, it's actually shown to the students, and if they have some ideas, they can obviously share. And accordingly, we can consider that in the rubric.
Great, super.
And yeah, and the first question that you told me, ma'am, now by conducting this activities, can I get your question once again, the first question?
If I remember it now,
Yeah.
that was about the interdisciplinarity. How do
Hmm.
you ensure that that gets, because you said that this has been planned with different teachers, how do you
Yes, yes.
ensure that the children are also demonstrating the same through their learning?
Okay. So, ma'am, when I was teaching them about climate change, so, and I took it in the next class when I connected it with my knowledge of economics. So, they came up with the example of economy of the country, like how Los Angeles fire is destroying the habitat of that country, or what impact is it having. The business took it in the way of business, like how the climate is affecting the business in those places in California. And similarly, when I say community service learning teacher, she actually arranges all the field visits, and she actually takes the student to a particular forest, or we had been a part of national park cleaning project also, wherein the students were actually shown how sustainability matters, how the people throw away the plastic, and how a lot of waste it is creating in the environment. So this way we take it ahead from our subjects also, as well as when it comes to the concept. Yes, we have a common explanation of the concept, but then the examples, when the teachers take up their subject, the students come up with the examples related to their knowledge of economics, business, or service learning, and we are always there as a facilitator to help them.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I hope that answers your question, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, so Ms. Nagma is asking one question. She's
Yes.
asking if the students discuss the figures, as in what amount could be saved when one practices sustainability.
Okay, so recently I just mentioned about the cutting pani project. So basically the number part is taken care by my service learning teacher. But when we actually did a research, it was noticed that on per day, if we calculate, I think it's more than 13 million liters of water that is being wasted. And as if one child is, or the entire class is given that knowledge about sustainability, that is, I'm taking one example, that is careful use of water. So definitely we can actually a group together bring this awareness amongst others also. And the maushis in our school are actually now serving cutting pani glasses. If you want, you can ask for more water over there. So this is an IBO recognized global
Have you
project from
guys
our school.
have you guys collected any data, like by doing just this very small activity, you will be going to
No,
school
sir, we are still
maybe.
under the process. We are still under it. Because just the grade 11th, na, it's just, we have just started with actually bringing awareness amongst the people. So now we are about to collect the data that how much we are able to bring awareness. So we are moving with the restaurants also, where distilleries are not served and they're serving water in glass. So we are actually looking for those things now.
So जो उसका पेपर, जो उसका मतलब मटेरियल होगा, जो कप होगा, वो क्या होगा?
वो ग्लास का कप होता है सर.
ग्लास
Or
ग्लास
it can glass, yes, because in hotels we cannot change that policy. They have to be glass. But in our school we use paper cups.
Okay.
So where we are able to mold them, we try our best. So we had recently installed a tap wherein all the plastic bottles you can see, and it's in Baikala Zoo. If you get an opportunity, you're staying in Mumbai, you can definitely visit that zoo, wherein a tap has been installed and all the plastic bottles that as kids collected from a walkathon. So the people literally threw it off on the roads and they collected it, and they actually spread that awareness that say no to plastic. How the wildlife species and everything are getting destroyed because of this.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much, Vanita.
I'm so sorry for keeping you wait for my presentations.
No
Thank you
issue.
so much.
We move on to our next participant, Ms. Priyanka.
Yes, so Miss Priyanka, she is a middle school educator and she'll be presenting on language.
Yes, good morning, everybody. And I hope you didn't have much difficulty because my internet connection is not very strong in this particular room. So I apologize for that. I am ready to begin. So can I share my screen? Okay. Right. Is it visible?
Not yet. Yeah, now it is.
Okay. And does my slide change?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm ready to begin, ma'am.
Yeah, if you would like to introduce, so
Yes, my name is Miss Priyanka. I work in Bangalore. I have been a teacher for almost 11 years. I deal with students who have learning difficulties, basically. And so now looking at all this wonderful impact presentation today about economics and physics and everything, it was so much full of information and knowledge. So I would like to take you back to the very beginning of middle school. So how children from primary years come to grade 6, and some of them come with all the and who need that little extra, support and help and remedial to make them in par with others of who they will be dealing in the world. So I deal with those students, and I have about 4 or 5 students with me, and they come with various learning difficulties. Most of them are slow learners. Some have dyslexia. One of my students has ADHD, and the things that we can do for them, that we take care of them in this school. But my students also go for extra diagnostics tests, and they come back with the results. And as teachers, we sit together, especially in grade 6 and grade 7, and then we decide and form an individual educational plan for them. And IB and IGCSE, both of them have accommodations for them in which they get extra time, or they get a scribe, or they get readers. So in that way, depending on the severity of their learning difficulties, we proceed on like that. So my presentation today is also about middle school students who have just started. And the ADHD child, I have taken some examples. This was before we could understand in which grade she would be placed, a 5 or a 6. So I have some examples of her as well. So shall I proceed with my presentation? Right. So empowering students and addressing learning gaps has been my main focus for this couple of years, because I have seen many of my students who are very much capable, but because of their learning difficulties, like not understanding the difference between a B and a D, or a 6 or a 9, or an O or an I, they lose out on a lot of content. I have my students, even who are in DP, who are dyslexic and would not understand the words, and who would otherwise, other students who need time of 25% more. So even I have had DP teachers come to me and tell me that the child knows this, but his handwriting is so not, we are not able to read his handwriting, or when he's not able to distinguish between 2 letters and 2 words. So he's losing all the marks. So ma'am, what can you do about it? And I have sat with DP students, and I have wished that I had had more time with them, and we have work on hand and eye coordination. We have worked on their speaking. We have worked on their ability to visually understand a closing and a starting of a line too. So empowering students just to grasp and just to fulfill their potential as students has been my main goal. Although I might not be teaching them the content, but how to understand that content has been my focus. So the learning objective of this presentation that I will be sharing with all the facilitators today was to build a fundamental or a foundational skill like letter recognition, mathematics and symbol recognition, hand-eye coordination, concentration and focus has also been a very important aspect in my department that is challenging, because because students who have learning difficulties have a very tough time to focus and concentrate. For example, even when you ask the children to copy from the board, they will not be able to focus on which word they have to copy. So when they write, their writing becomes illegible. They themselves are not able to read what they have written later. So we have remedial measures to make them understand the spacing of the line. It is called like how they, some students just guess the words. So we have these small remedial exercises that they have to do in their mind over a long continuous period of time, so that now they develop a pattern. It cannot be cured. It's not a curable thing, but they can modify their behavior so that they can grasp learning better. Now, this slide, We did a sandbox activity with the objective to help students improve their letter formation. Both of my boys, one is in grade 8 and one is in grade 6. So both of them had a difficulty recognizing the B, D, N, M, I, E, O, these kind of letters. So students wrote in their notebooks focusing on the letters that they found difficult. I do a pre-planned, pre-assessment for them. I check all their notebooks. The teachers sit with me, tell me the areas of concern, and then we used a sandbox. They liked this activity and they did that A, E, I, dotting the I, cutting the T. This activity was done to build their motor skills. Now, they did this activity 3 times a week with me, along with various other, measures where I measured them with, like they first did it. This was just like an exercise, just in a board scale. I gave them trays and I gave them clay, and we had to write numerous letters. And the papers that you see here, these were the words like information. I had broken this word into the syllables, and then they write information, and then they write the same thing in their notebook. It was a very drill and repetitive practice because slow learners do learn better with drill and drilling practices. After the sandbox activity, we also had, this was a few other pictures, where they had problems with R, S, N, and the method was sensory so that they could feel and touch. Whenever a child with learning difficulty, especially children with slow learners and dyslexia, if they touch the sand, if they touch those surfaces that have these letters, they tend to, remember it better. Then we had this bingo and maze. This we played in the class continuously. This was for them to understand a sequence. Now, this looks like a very small activity, but for them, in their mind, to go from line to line reading, to understand the words that have been placed on each lines, when they are writing also, the left to right, this everything, and when they are hearing instructions, especially in bingo, they get very distracted with the sound outside. Like they will be able to, if there is a dog barking, they will be able to concentrate only on the word. They will completely lose off. No matter what activity or engagement in this class, they will completely lose off. So this kind of activities where a sound is given and then they have to write, this will increase their power of memory, I feel. Then we did Scrabble. I use a lot of board games even in I also teach ESL to grade 9 and 10. So games like Scrabble, and with students who do not have learning difficulties, they like to play these kind of games. These are remedial classes that happen after school. So I had a 1 hour practice with them for vocabulary. So they get a list of vocabulary, and the same list, if you can see them in the paper, I do not expect my children to think about a word because like I told you, they're slow learners. So they have been given a list of words. They make those list of words and they try to play this game. We modify these kind of game. And even Battleship was played for the grid, for the placing of the lines. Like for example, in mathematics and graphs, when you draw the X and Y axis, that my children were not able to understand where to put the minus, like 1 minus or -1. So with games like this, like bingo, maze, Scrabble, just to learn the placing of the letters and the mathematic symbols. Then we had dotted words. I know that they are in grade 6 and 8, but it was needed for their remedial classes. Full practice we had, which each of the students were given about 40 words to dot and practice. And they wrote along with the syllables that we use in the words, especially letters. They make mistakes with similar sounding letters like shout and should, peace, peace, affect, effect. So these are the letters we had to practice in dotted lines. They make a mistake with that, or some of the students make mistake. They will not be able to pronounce and recognize words that are made with more than 5 letters. And we also have students, foreign students who are Thai or Korean. They are very, very mother tongue influences. They instead of pronouncing the word Mr., they pronounce it as meter. So these kind of children I deal with. So these are like dotted words, writing 40 words, doing tongue twisters. These are some things I do with them for 1 hour every day after school, so that when they go to the regular classes, it'll help them. Then we had number recognition. These numbers were done from, like, I had these sandpaper numbers. So first they recognize 86 and then they 867. So the digits increased. And when they touched it, it was made with sandpaper. So they could, students were given a pack of numbers which had the sandpaper texture where the student numbers were written. So they closed their eyes and they printed these numbers and they wrote it down. We had matched the patterns. Matching the patterns is also very essential for them to understand the sequence, like a crab, a frog, and a bird. So then you remove them and again they stick it. So students focus on this tactile feature of numbers, improving their ability to recognize pattern without relying to solely visual inputs. So in class, what we do is we put up a PPT and we feel that we put up a PPT and we feel that they are able to grasp everything, but they will not be able to form the complete picture. So if you put a pattern like this, the children will be able to, understand the pattern. Is that the sound for my time is over? Is that the sound? Okay, I just have one more slide for Amira. Can I please share? Okay, this one of my students is Amira. Then we did hand exercises activities like this before the class. This every class can do this. This is, we took a squeezy ball and then they had to do this hand exercises with to improve their strength, to improve their strengths. And I just have one more thing that I wanted to show Amira today. This student here has ADHD. So what we do is we do experiential learning for them. Like water pollution is done with these two water bowls. And then I put some paint telling that it's chemical. And then she writes about this in a A3 paper grid. Then I tell her a story. Then again, she writes in this kind of grids. These are children who have just come out of PYP. So with this, the whole story she writes. This is again for spacing, and here then this is how she works with me. So I think that my time is up.
Change the slide and show. Yeah. Your slide is still on the pre-writing.
Pre-writing. Okay. Okay. Stop sharing and just a minute. Yeah, ma'am. This is the kind of grid that they do. This is what they practice with me. Here, can you see the grid? A3 size papers, grids?
Loading. Yeah.
Okay.
So these grids are made by you.
Yes, I make these grids and then she sits with me and she writes, because even for 5 to 10 minutes also, she could not sit in the class. So I tell her a story, I cut the pictures of the story, stick it in grids and she summarizes them, 2-3 lines, 2-3 lines. I know these children will not be able to be in part, but how much ever they could learn. And this is what we do. Like we stick day 1, she did this, day 2, they did this. So along with this is for a visual thing that they themselves can see how they have improved if the letters are in the box. And I also send a complete detailed analyzed report of the child in reading, speaking, writing, about his ability to grasp the knowledge. A detailed observation sheet along with my feedback is sent to the coordinators. That's all, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Priyanka,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
please go ahead.
Yes, sir.
No, go ahead, Viniti.
So I have 5 questions. The first one is, do you use mnemonics in this case? Like
Yes, sir. For some of my boys, I do. Like, especially Amara is not able, like smaller children who have ADHD or who have severe ADHD, they will again mix the mnemonics. But my boys who are slow learners, I do use mnemonics for them, like conjunctions, grammar rules, and we draw. Yes, that is a nice technique that I use.
Okay. So do you use presentation also for?
Yeah. Yes, we do have presentations, visual presentations. Like when I was trying to, my class is not something that goes with a fixed plan. Although I do have a lot of documentation because our school was going for authorization for PIP and they wanted detailed documentation. So I told them that it's a working document. See, sometimes I feel like this will work for my students, but it won't work. But then I think that, okay, this might not work, but that works very well for them. So when I was doing a particular spelling test, I realized the child was making mistakes because he could not understand the phonics. So I did a course in phonics and then I put that phonics ABCD, that entire video for them because so that they could understand the sound.
The reason for asking this presentation thing was in your presentation only there were good images, but the text was also in the same quantity.
Yes,
So
sir.
now the point is, while you are preparing presentation for these ADHD kids, so do you use the text the same way or it is different?
For presentation for my children are very, very different because first of all, my children are not able to pick up the words only visually. So even if they do, even if they do pick up, I have to print those PPTs, give it to them, sit with them, point at the letters and then write, sir. So if I do leave a PPT for them, I just feel that they will be making the same mistake that they make in the regular classes. Pictures I can give them.
One intangible question: are you replaceable for your kids to whom you are teaching,
I
or
don't
do
think so.
they
I'm
love your?
replaceable. I love them and they love me. And I don't think so anybody would be doing a better job than me in this aspect because I feel very emotionally attached to my children. But yes, I do have other teachers, like shadow teachers, who do help them. But I feel like with the children, the 7 children that I have with me, I think I am giving them my all and they are also opening up to me. So at this moment, I do not want to be removed anywhere with whatever no reason. I just want to see them reaching at least one milestone about Amira completing 1 page or Vishal Purti getting some 18 out of 20. So at this moment, I don't think so. Like we all teachers will feel that our children need us. And I think that is the motivation to come to school every morning and forgetting all the other things. I think I also strongly feel that my children are progressing.
Have you ever tried, last question, have you ever tried to make them learn through their weakness? Just for an example, like you said कि अगर बाहर कुछ देखता है तो the child become very much distracted. So with the same philosophy with the same example, can we teach from that thing कि उसको distract करके we can teach something? Have you
Yes, sir.
tried?
Definitely. I have also tried to make the best challenges as their weakness as a boon for them to like as a gaining thing. Like how I have done it is Amira wanted to go to the computer lab 24/7. She didn't want to sit in the class. She's in grade 6. So what I did was I planned those interactive games for them in the computer room only. So she liked doing it and she did it. Like so if you focus on that particular, there's so many small things that I cannot remember at this moment. But as and when I feel a challenge, the first thing is how can I use this now? The teacher is saying this that Amira is continuously roaming around in the class. Now how can I use this to teach her? Matlab, should I make grids on her? Should I make her jumping exercises and teaching her missing numbers like 1? Then you don't jump. Then you become 2. Then this becomes 3. Then you don't jump. So I'm continuously thinking of those kind of methods for these students.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Oh, D.
Yeah. Is she there, Priyanka? I think she logged out.
So I think she has logged out.
Yeah, she got logged out, I guess. Yeah, there she is.
Extremely sorry, I'm having a tough time with technology today.
Yeah, no problem. You can keep your camera turned off, no issues. Priyanka, where are you from? Sorry.
I am from Darjeeling, but I have been living and practicing my teaching in Bangalore.
Okay, okay. So, first of all, I'm so happy that as a special educator, you took this opportunity, you grabbed this opportunity to showcase what you're doing, because I am a special educator myself, and I know how tough it is to work with children with special needs. I was working with children with autism, and I know that to catch a glimpse, just eye contact was a struggle, and I had a lesson plan just to engage the child for like a few seconds of eye contact. So I completely understand the detailing with which you have to plan your lessons. And also the goals have to be so well thought of, because
Yes.
uh, first of all, we term them as slow learners, which I'm not comfortable labeling them as slow learners. So the presentation that you showed us a different kind of strategies that you're trying to help them work with their weaknesses. But I understand that they have, problems with phonetics. They have problems in terms of place value. Even their writing is illegible. So in that case, we know that these are their weaknesses. But what about their strengths? How do you highlight their strengths, and how do you make them? Because it's very easy for the world to let them know your handwriting is not good. You're not good.
Yes.
You're not
I,
good at.
I understand. I totally understand. And I also feel the same pinch when as other teachers or any senior management team comes to me and tells me, okay, this is, he just doesn't do anything. He's just blank the whole day. Repeatedly, I did it. I did a word blank. Tomorrow you did teach him today. Tomorrow he forgets, ma'am. Absolutely. Nothing is remaining in his head. Like, he is not capable. So I totally understand that. I feel the pinch. So the strengths for Amira, like for example, some of my children, she loves stories. In no matter what you teach them in story form, multiplication, addition, subtraction, division, if you teach her in story form, she grasps it like anything.
So
So
do you
I've been
make
teaching
use
her
of those
mathematic
strengths?
concepts. Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. You make use
ADHD.
of
Yes.
those strengths.
Yes, I do make them. I take a chart and I make those like a boy, and the boy putting the balls on the basket, that for division and multiplication, and then we have those small. I use marbles, bangles, all this. So, like for example, another one, Hashavardhan. Hashavardhan also has his strengths as he feels like he can be in charge, like he's the leadership kind of a person. So for him also, I have different activities plans where he has to take control of that entire thing, like maybe do a peer correction. In that way, he will learn. So I do use their strengths as to teach them also.
Yeah. Because it's not possible for the class teacher to do these things. So that's why I asked you.
Yes, exactly, exactly. We might think that it's a very ideal situation. Even the coordinators might go to the teacher and say, you have to use differentiation. Differentiation has to be done. It's an inclusive school. But I do understand with the children of almost 30 children, students there, to do it is very difficult. That's why I stay back after school for an hour every day and I do these remedial classes for them. And teachers work with me. Some of them give me the entire worksheets that they're going to do on the next week. And I differentiate those worksheets and teach them the terms
Mm.
prior.
That makes sense, because if you're using their strengths to teach them, then it's going to work. Because if we are just working on the weakness, I think that's where we lose them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Priyanka.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Any other questions by the jury members? Also, one last question that came to my mind. I saw your activity on strengthening of the pincer grasp, right, for better writing skills. What are some of the other activities that you do to strengthen their pincer grasp?
We basically have been using those squeezy balls for their physically, and they're doing these dotted lines when it comes to writing. We have the sandbox activity. Other than that, I have been giving them tracing words, and we have also been doing coloring. A lot of Mandela books have been brought to school, so they also do this coloring so that they can strengthen their fingers in writing. Now, this is something new that I've just started coloring mandalas and patterns so that they form sequences and colors that way.
You could also try therapy, which is a harder form of clay, rather than giving them clay.
Ah. Actually, ma'am, I'm in the art room only. This place has become my home. I'm running here every moment to make resources for my kids until they kick me off.
True.
The art teacher is very generous and been helping me make those cut and paste and everything. So I will definitely try therapy, the clay, the harder than clay. Thank you
Harder.
so much for that information.
So there are different degrees, but you can order the lowest one. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Priyanka. Any questions by anybody? I think, yeah, Aprajita has put one question. How do you ensure that learning is visible or data can be taken to bring about a change?
What we do is we have a pre-test that is done from the school by me. I do a pre-test on what are the levels of learning first. Then we do this remedial classes, and this remedial class depends on the child. Like if we have a same child who's been with us for 2 to 3 years, then we already know. So that becomes lesser time. Like for pre-time, the experiment time becomes 2 months. For students who come new to us, we take longer time, like AIM and all. I have these. So what I do is grade-wise level, like for grade 6, grade 7, grade 9, and grade 10, I do a backward planning. I work, for example, English teachers give me a backward planning. Grade 10, grade 9, grade 7, grade 8, they give me a backward planning. I tell them what are the basics that you expect your children to learn. So I make an IPL. So I do a pre-test, and with those basic things that the teachers, subject teachers, science teachers, mathematics teachers give me, I work with their worksheets and I do a post-test. Now in the post-test, if I feel that the child is able to, the post-test is corrected by the subject teacher, especially maths and science. If they feel like they are ready to be integrated in their core subject, then we go ahead. If they still are not able to do it, I suggest them for a diagnostic test, which happens from a government called a spastic society test. Then they go for diagnostic, they come back for the report, and then we sit and make an IPL. An individual educational plan for them after these remedial class if they didn't work.
Got it. But you all don't send them to lower grades to go back to lower grades and
No.
attend concepts again? No.
No, we just feel like it morally demotivates the child. So we have never had a case where they go back to one level. Actually, we try to make it our classes in par with them, maximum level in par with them with the basics, and then we go backward planning. Grade 9, 10, whatever is the minimum, the teachers themselves tell me, and I go thoroughly. Whichever subject and the teacher is involved, I give them differentiating presentations for them to understand, especially the accommodations from the board, because there are a lot of questions like the board does not have a simplified paper, but we do have readers and scribes for them. So how are we going to use them? Let's make the most of it, because this, you cannot expect these children to, pass that. So can you help 2-3 years before we plan?
Got it. Fine.
One more question I want to ask. Like, what are the parental submissions are there? Like, what do they want from you as an educator? कि आप इसको ऐसे ऐसे कुछ ये करा दीजिए. Yeah, what are their end goal with the child?
पहले तो जब हम बताते हैं पेरेंट्स को कि ये रेड फ्लैग्स है, फर्स्ट आई गिव डिफरेंशिएशन पीडी सेशंस टू द टीचर्स इन व्हिच आई हैव अ वेरी सिंपल लिस्ट who are not even special educators to tick mark. Child is concentrating, child is beginning another activity without finishing the one activity, the child is getting frequently distracted, the child is able to, there are lots of questions, checklist first we give. Now if these children are being picked by the teachers as red flags, और बहुत सारे आते हैं 5-6 बहुत सारे, in them also sometimes most of them are behavioral, मतलब उन counseling है, they don't have learning difficulties, it is just that they are behavioral, they are naughty, so or they're mischievous, so that can be handled with the teacher and all that. There are no learning difficulties, there is, the child recognizes the letters, words, spellings, everything. So if it is the teachers who have suggested that this child might have a red flag in learning difficulty, I go personally to their classes and observe them. Then I have to talk to the parents, and some parents are open. अभी तक तो जितने भी parents आए हैं, they are very much understandable. क्योंकि I tell them that, see, this is, we are not labeling your child or targeting your child at all. This is just an additional support for your child that your child needs. अभी वो 2 ले रहा है 10 में, we are just attempting him to get a 5 out of 10. We cannot do more. So that learning gap, so it will be helpful for the child only. So parents, what they expect from me is, I think parents who bring the report, diagnostic, bahar jaake test le gaya, I think they expect me to follow up with all the teachers and provide and see that the IPL is being done, to give them regular feedbacks. So what I do is every 2 weeks, I like today's PTM, they come to me and they talk to me, how is Vishal doing, ma'am? कैसा कर रहा है स्कूल में, मैथ्स का इसका बहुत बुरा था क्या? So they expect me to see that the IPL that I make, obviously they won't know the terms, but whatever I have told them that this is what I'll do for the child, they expect me to follow it with the teachers and see that differentiation is done. I think that is what the parents expect of me.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Priyanka.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So I think we are done with the first set of presentations.
Yes, this was the last presentation for this session.
Right. So we take, when do we start? We take a 5-minute, 10-minute break.
We have a few last minute cancellations. So in the second half, we have 4 presentations, and one of the educators still in school. She'll be able to join back at around 1:30, 1:45. So we can start at 12:45 or 1 o'clock.
12:45 or 1 o'clock. All right. How many presentations do we have?
4 presentations we have.
Four. Okay. So in that case, 12:45 sounds good. Can we have a poll from all the jury members? Would 12:45 be okay to join back?
Yes, miss.
Yes,
Yeah.
it suits, yeah. 12:45 is fine.
12:45. All right. So we have a half an hour break and then we join back. And I think that should get done in like 45, 50 minutes. Meanwhile, we can also utilize this break, to discuss in case we all want to go through the presentations or something. We are happy to do that. If you want to take a break, happy for that as well.
I guess jury can wait for it at least 5 minutes and they can update the scores.
Sure. So the sheets have already been shared. I think Ms.
Yes.
Ms. Aprajita were having some issues, so they might have to go back to the recordings, or they can obviously ask us, no problem.
Miss, even I'll have to take a look at the recordings again.
Yes, yes. So in that case, I was just wondering that in case we were to announce make an announcement for the winners, then we will have to postpone that.
Yes, miss, because I did miss out a bit of two of the presentations.
Right, right.